What's going on?
What's going on, bud? What's going on with you? You do Thanksgiving stuff at all out there?
Not too much. Christmas is weirdly big here, but Thanksgiving is not.
Yeah, I was curious. Like, maybe does your girl do Thanksgiving stuff for you? Just trying to make you feel a little bit more like a little bit more of American.
Um, it's difficult to try to explain most Western holidays the same
Because
as
they're all
like
bullshit.
yeah, it's like these people a long time ago they were they were they were killing each other, and then uh there's turkeys and fuck. Yeah, so it's Christmas is even worse. It's like they actually do celebrate it here, but they can't explain why it's a thing. And then when you try, it's like, okay, well, uh, there's a religion, and he's like the son of the god, and yeah, so it's just yeah, it's if you think about it, a lot of holidays are kind of stupid, like East. I mean, if you really think about a lot of most cultures' holidays don't make a lot of sense. Um, but I think most people don't think about it too much, and it's hard to explain. Yeah,
They do Halloween, right? They like to get dressed up and shit.
they do Halloween a lot. My wife dressed up as Tomb Raider, Lara Croft.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's perfect. What did you do?
Yeah,
Did
she
you didn't go as a duo or you did your own thing?
I did my own thing. It's I don't go out as much. But yeah, usually like a some kind of superhero or something. Just to, but I figured if I already have the build, you might as well.
Right. I mean, there gets to be a certain point where if you get to be like crazy, like huge or super shredded, like you kind of have to almost do something or it's like a waste of a physique, you know? It's like,
It's you can see why actors who are jacked, if they come from WWE or something, they always get the same role because people just assume that's like what they are. You know what I mean? Because they have the muscle. So
yeah. And
so
then you
work
got
out.
to keep it on till you're like in your mid 50s, like Batista and The Rock now.
Oh, I think they both got kind of skinny. Well,
Yeah.
I don't
But
know.
like they're in their
Yeah,
mid 50s though, they're carrying that mass like fucking pretty late.
it's it's weird because The Rock's movie bombed, and then a year later he's like, it's just all fucking gone.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
love how he's like nothing's different. What are you talking about? Have you heard him like kind of like defend himself? And he's like,
I've
obviously
seen.
never used steroids in my life.
It's he's such a fucking walking sales pitch. It's like
He talks about the one time he did it in college. That's the only time I've ever heard him talk about any anabolics.
it's stupid because it's so clearly not true, but he kind of has to say that because it's still illegal, and it's wild. And I mean, he has to say it because he can't cause controversy because that I don't know. I think he wants to be president someday, and he has political aspirations, I'm sure, and it's Hey, you want to say hello to Uncle Jonathan?
What's up? Oh my
He's
gosh, is that a Bichon? What is that?
Yeah, yeah, it is.
Oh my God, you got to show me my client. So I have a really great client. Her and my best buddy, one of my buddies, the gym owner, they're obsessed with Bijans. They just fucking show each other pictures and show me pictures and shit of them all day. They like Asian
Yeah.
people love them, right? I see people feed them with chopsticks and shit and just like so proper. Have you do you does your girl watch any of this shit? Does she follow like the Bijan Instagrams? There's like
I
one that dude, it almost makes me mad. I see this one that like rings a bell and it's like I'm ready to be served. And like they come over and they feed it with chopsticks. It's the
He's not
craziest
that
shit.
spoiled. Yeah, no, he's not that spoiled, but I could see how, as a breed, yeah, they could probably get that way pretty quick
Well, they seem like
because,
they
like,
love it too. They just love to be pampered and love to be doted on.
I think often it's like a replacement for a child, and that might be sort of what he is for us. So, like, he gets spoiled.
Yeah.
Because like if he doesn't get what he wants, he'll just like bark, just like
Yeah. They give you shit. That's what she says. Like they get mad and stuff.
I'm pretty sure he's pooped on the floor just because he didn't
In
get what he wanted.
defiance.
And
Poop in defiance.
like fucking looking up at
Like,
us like you
exactly.
chose this, motherfuckers.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
That's funny. So, I think I may have asked you this before, but like your wife's family, they're pretty traditional, or are they pretty like what like
Um,
Do you get shit for what you do at all from anyone around you guys? I mean, at this
Not
point, it's kind of like mainstream, I guess, like being an
Yeah,
influencer and
I think actually influencer is more well regarded in China because if I say I'm like 我是自媒体, they say like 你做什么工作, like what do you do for work? And for a while I didn't really have an answer like YouTuber, writer, like what do I don't know. So, but I guess the most accurate
writer
translation would
sounds
be
so
like
cool though, right? I would go with that. I'm like, I'm so sophisticated.
writer does sound, and that's like a pretty good chunk of my income. So it's like it actually makes sense. Um, and so, but if I say oh, 我是自媒体, like 自 is independent, and then 媒体 is media, right? Media 媒体. It's like a sort of direct, um, a very direct. I guess they took the English word métis and sort of just took it. So it's like independent media, basically. So can you imagine if you ask someone, hey, what do you do? And instead of saying influencer, they're like independent media. Isn't that cool?
Yeah, if you say that in America, I think of like a conspiracy theorist, like an extreme right wing or something. A little
Yeah,
different.
they run a cult or something. Yeah.
That's funny. That's cool. Yeah, because like I remember whenever I was with my ex-wife, her mother was really traditional Taiwanese, and she's like, I was a trainer, and it was just she's like, this guy's a trainer. She's like, what the fuck? like you don't have some super advanced degree and all this shit. And I just remember it was like, my ex was a physical therapist, and she was just like, Mom, like he makes quite a bit better money than me. Like, do you need to see like income statements or like what makes this okay? So, that's kind of funny. But yeah, things have come a long way now, and they seem to. I don't know. Do they like our culture a lot over there? Are they like into it?
It kind of goes based on the relations between the countries. So like
It
if
really, oh, it
the
does.
U.S.
Okay.
Yeah, so like things are because they've gone up and down and sort of down and then up a
Do you
little bit.
experience
And so
racism when things go down?
I've definitely experienced sorry, open in the water. I've definitely experienced xenophobia a little bit. Like during COVID, actually, ironically, there was a time when it was very controlled here in China, but then it was like going crazy abroad. And so I'd be walking down the street and people would be on their phone or something, and they would look up and see me and just like fucking walk the other way. And I'm like, no, I've been here the whole time. Like, why would I? But people just have that idea of oh, you're poor. And I think most of the people bringing it back were actually just Chinese people coming back. So it wasn't even
Yeah.
like a,
Yeah,
but there
they
was just
brought
a,
that shit here. How they getting mad at you? It's,
I didn't say that. But yeah, but generally, those are pretty isolated incidents, right? So generally, people are
and
very,
we've talked about before how they don't give a fuck either. Like they're not gonna hide like for social niceties, like how they're feeling. Like they're like, oh, don't get like they won't suddenly do it like the way they do over here. Like, oh, this fucking guy.
it's in some instances, yeah, they'll tell you exactly how they feel and they'll be like really direct with things. But like other things are not as talked about. So it's almost like every society, there are things that are agreed upon that like, hey, we don't really talk about this as much, right? But here in China, like money is talked about a little bit more freely, I think. Or even just like how much money. I mean, before I met my wife, I've been on dates where the date was like,
Yeah,
okay, so how much money do you make? And I was
right.
like, what the fuck? Okay, sure. That's interesting. And so, yeah, so some dates I had been on, I almost felt like it was some kind of job interview where they're asking, okay, like, what's your height? What's your dad's height? What color eyes do you have? What color
I
eyes do
could
you
get in with
have?
that. Like that's my style. I like that. It's very
It's
offensive. You
very
ask a girl that here in America.
it's very like because I guess yeah, they're marrying your genes and your so they're trying to dig in to find out what that is. So I guess it kind of makes sense. It's just unexpected because growing up in America, you don't you're not supposed to ask those things, even if you really want to know, right? It's kind of important, and
Well,
so
they ask
uh,
those things in LA too. They'll ask you what's your income pretty fucking quick out here.
I always thought it was like important to be more subtle about that kind of stuff because like you want to find out somehow, but I think especially for a man, like how much money you make is kind of important. But like, so she has to find out. But if she asks too directly, it's like a sort of gold digger kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Well,
Just
out here, the girls got to ask because they don't know if someone's faking until they make it too. Someone could be living in debt so hard. Like I've seen so much shit over here, but it's like a lot of times they don't
I'm
ask
sure.
because they know like okay, it's a certain threshold, and I'm okay with that. If they ask, usually it's them trying to figure out is this guy a total fucking bum or does he have something to his name?
Yeah, is the fake it till you make it thing new, or do you think it's always sort of been around? We just see it
I
more.
think it's gotten amped up a lot because of crypto and stuff. Because some people faked it and fucking made it, you know. And so there's more examples. Like I mean, I have a really great buddy who made some money in crypto, and he was. I mean, I met him was driving a Kia Optima, and now he just bought like the F9 Ferrari and like cash, and it's like doing this like drop shipping with peptide. Just fell on some shit where he's just making a ton of money, but I don't think he would have necessarily done that if he wasn't living above his means and having to hustle. So every now and then that shit can work. Not really what I recommend, but I've definitely seen it a time or two
Yeah,
work between here in Hollywood.
that's wild. Yeah, one thing that's nice about my wife is that um like we were broke for a while. Like when we met was like my last day of work at my old job, and then since then it was like a struggle for the first few years. So like I don't have any doubts about her in that regard. But I would imagine if you're already wealthy and you're trying to assess like, do I get into a serious relationship with this woman? Like how do you know what her intentions are, right? Because the woman is trying to assess the man, like, is his money legit, or like is he going to commit? But then the man is also like trying to assess right back as well.
Suss
And
it out,
then
or they don't care. Sometimes they're totally cool with it. Like that's their thing.
I guess, yeah, yeah,
I,
maybe.
I was curious. So, how long did it take you to learn Mandarin? You know it pretty fluently now.
It's gotten worse actually because all
It's
my
gotten
work
worse.
is, yeah. I mean, you think like living in China it would just get better and better and better and better, but like if you don't use it, then you lose it. Like it would come back. It comes back pretty fast. If I start having a random conversation with someone, um, it'll be rusty at first, but it'll come back pretty quick because you have the vocabulary all just in there, um, and then it just sort of has to be drawn out. Like I can still understand anything my wife says. Like if she's talking, well, actually, if she's talking to her parents, she's speaking local language, which is like totally different from Mandarin.
Is it just a different
Um,
dialect, or it's like different fucking language?
it's like it's probably 80 to 90% dissimilar.
Oh
So
wow.
like I think French and English have more in common than Mandarin and her dialect or whatever local language is. My wife speaks like six or seven languages. It's crazy. And they have like similar grammatical structures and stuff. Like you can read it the same, but almost everything is said way differently. Um, that being said, I can kind of understand it now because I've gone back to her hometown so
Yeah.
much and I've heard her on the phone as well and stuff. So I can kind of understand, and I've let on that I could understand a few times where like
You
they
fucked
were
up. Don't
talking.
let her know that.
Well, because I don't know, it's just like entertaining for me because like they were talking about something, and then like after she hung up, she was going to tell me about it. I'm like, oh, don't worry, I already know. Like I figured that out. It's like, how do you know that? Even Chinese people don't know what I'm talking about. It's like, so it does have some similarities. And if I hear my name, I kind of like perk up, But my Mandarin, it's okay. I couldn't work completely in Mandarin. I've worked at companies where I had to speak to people totally in Mandarin, and I had working relationships in Mandarin. Um, but like, if someone needed me to write some kind of long form essay in Mandarin or a report in Mandarin, like it just very very few foreigners can write at a professional level in Mandarin and in Chinese. So I definitely didn't get that good. But like day to day communication, no problem. Even like professional workplace stuff, generally no problem. Um,
How long did it take you from
but
like nothing to being where you were pretty capable?
so I didn't really start studying intently or intensely until probably Actually, it was right when I started lifting, like 2014.
You were
Where
already
I'd
out.
already been,
You knew. Okay, you were already out there. Yeah.
yeah, I'd already been in China for like 3 years.
Nice.
So I kind of just like, I
You're
wasn't sure how
teaching
long I was going
English,
to be.
right?
Yeah, I was teaching English,
Yeah.
but you don't need to know Chinese in the
Yeah.
classrooms. They actually
They don't
want it to
want you
be
to.
like,
Yeah.
so they don't want you to actually speak any Chinese in the classroom. And usually, most years, the students are speaking and sometimes they're speaking about you, and you have to just pretend that you don't understand what they're saying. But occasionally you're like, you give them a look and they're like, no, did he? No. Or they hear you speaking to your coworkers or something and they're like, the
Oh,
foreigner is speaking
but
what? But like, I mean, it's hard to keep a lid on that. And it's actually like a big point of respect with the kids if they know that you speak even decent Chinese, let alone like pretty good Chinese. Um, so it took me. I actually used a program called lingq.com, a website. And the issue is that you don't have enough vocabulary. It basically just helps you connect the characters to the meaning, to the sound.
oh, that's like just like children. That's perfect.
Pretty much, yeah. And it's like it starts with really simple stuff. And I think that's one of the reasons why Chinese has a reputation for being hard to learn, because you can't just look at a character and know what it says. Whereas you can look at an English word, and as long as you know the alphabet, like you can kind of sound it out, or even French or Spanish, you can sound it out, but you can't really sound out a character. Sometimes you have a hint of what it looks like, based on the structure, but often you just,
It
unless you know
needs
the
the other ones
character,
with it.
well,
Uh,
you need to know the character basically to know the sound. And so being able to connect the sound and the meaning to the character really helped me to learn enough vocabulary to where I did it for one summer, like 3 months, 2, 3 months, and then I came back to China and I could actually like understand a lot of what was going on for the first time. And it's almost like just getting your foot in the door a little bit, like enough to where you're not frustrated. Because that,
yeah.
that was like the main thing. Like it just seemed so intimidating and there was no foothold. It's like trying to climb a smooth wall. And this just gave me enough footholds to, oh, now I'm having real conversations. And they're not just super simplistic where the other person is kind of like babying you. They're talking to you
Yeah.
just because they're being nice and trying to help you and stuff. But like, oh, they're actually engaged. Like they're actually learning stuff as well. And so, that kind of got me to the point where I could start learning a little bit more organically. Um, but I know some people who just learned in bars, like they
Yeah.
just literally
It's a
they don't know
skill.
any of the
Yeah.
characters.
Some people are naturally
Yeah,
good at it.
but,
Yeah.
but for me, like I needed something visual to kind of keep everything together and piece everything the way it was supposed to be. Um, like I was a C plus French student, so I think a lot of it. Well, a lot of that was because I didn't really care about French. Like you just take it because you have to take a language, right? But I think I'm not particularly gifted linguistically. A lot of it is just like rote memorization. Even for Chinese students learning Chinese, a lot of it is just brutal, tedious memorization of the characters at first. Um,
I kind of like
and
that almost in
even
a way.
it, it it's almost like hypnotic, where you have to be focused and then you're seeing the patterns and you start making connections between them and stuff, and then once you know enough vocabulary, a lot of words, because each character is its own character, but many words are multiple characters kind of squished together. It's almost like German in that regard, where German has like a whole bunch of sort of their own meanings of words and just they cram it together. And so a word is 16 syllables or something. Chinese is kind of similar, where like the name of a government branch might be seven characters strung together or something. Or like Bingxiang, icebox, refrigerator, like Bing, ice, Xiang, box, icebox. And so it's just like um, 火车, fire, car. Oh, that's a train. So like a lot of stuff is very intuitive. And once you know enough vocabulary, it's easier to learn more. Like once you know enough characters, you start piecing them together. And usually they're pretty logical, actually. They don't, there's not a lot of weird rules in terms of grammar or like putting words together. Whereas English, I think that's a big part of what makes it difficult as well. So I think every language has its own difficulties, and I definitely feel for Chinese people learning English because I've seen that as an English teacher, and like it's difficult as well. So yeah, anytime you're learning a language that is very far removed from your own, it's going to be rough.
I got it. Yeah, they do Spanish on that thing too, or what? On
Yeah,
that,
I think they have.
or is it?
Yeah, they have like 50
Uh,
languages or more. I haven't used it in a long time, but yeah, they have a bunch.
I'll hear my daughter. She'll be saying some shit, and I can tell. Like sometimes I just don't understand her because she just talks gibberish, and then sometimes I'll be like, oh, that had like a Spanish sounding like into it. Like I don't know what you're trying to tell me, baby. You know the English version. It's funny is when you're talking about like just trying to grasp the language and get a footing on it. It just made me think because I've said this analogy a few times about some of the deep ECM kind of stuff that like people might like take in when they're first learning this if they go through like Bill Hartman or one of the guys who go really in depth with it, or like when I was first learning it, it is like sometimes you just don't even have a foothold to start to grasp any of the stuff that you're hearing. And I tell people sometimes like it's almost like a foreign language, like in the sense that you just got to immerse yourself with it, and then you start to pick it up like as you kind of go. But it's kind of like, oh, I've been, talking this and learning this for like a year now. It's starting to stick a little bit. So that's funny. I've said that quite a few times, but I don't know if that applies to to Chinese.
I think it makes sense because like sometimes you have to like if you go to I'm sure if you go to a seminar or something and someone says something and then like they demonstrate it, it probably makes so much more sense than like reading it in a textbook. And learning language is the same thing. Like we would we would hear something or we would learn something in a textbook in like because we took these Chinese classes for our course, and then we would go out into the real world and try to use them. And the native speakers were like, "Yeah, we don't say that. No one has said that in like 50 years or something."
Does their younger kids, do they do the same shitty slang that we do here? The Gen Z slang stuff?
well, I think it's different, but yeah, there's always like new words being sort of smushed together that I don't think older people are going to know or understand, and like new trends and stuff. Yeah, so I think pretty much every language is going to shift and evolve over time, and it's not static. It's its own living entity.
Just since we're talking about the Chinese culture a little bit, I think one of the questions later was, and we've talked a little bit about the gym culture there. They were asking about the gym culture, and kind of specifically, they're asking if they're really into like Olympic weightlifting, which I guess is kind of funny. I guess they're referring to the fact that all the Olympic weightlifters here are some kind of Asian. In America, it tends to be, but they were just asking if they get into like the U.S. gym trends. Like I don't know, are they wearing like Gymshark and shit? I guess, or what's it like as far as the
It's
typical Chinese person working out?
it's weird because there's not a lot of Olympic weightlifting here, from what I've seen, but like they're really good at it at the highest level.
It's like across
And
the board
so
too. Not even just like Chinese. It's like Korea and Japanese, all of them.
North Korea, yeah, both Koreas, yeah. Um, yeah, it's one of those weird things because I think it's very much state sponsored. So I don't think it grew organically. Like it wasn't a thing that a lot of people did, and then oh, the best of the best, they rise to the top, and then now the government sponsored them. No, that's not really how it happened, from what I can tell. I think it was more like they found some guys who had a lot of talent for it, and then like the state sponsored them right away and sort of brought them up. But it wasn't like a widespread thing, from what I can tell. Maybe like some spots locally, but from what I've seen overall, um, it's not it's not like a super widespread thing. Um, and some countries are like weirdly good at some sports that you might not expect. Like Japan has baseball. Like they're pretty like they're really into baseball, but like you wouldn't really expect that. And then Japan's also really into distance running for some reason. Like it's
Oh,
huge there. It's massive. Yeah.
are they good at it,
Um,
or they just practice it? I mean, no
it's
non-black people are winning that, right?
yeah, yeah, it's interesting because they're really deep. Like they have a huge talent pool, but none or very few of them are like world class. Like you're not going to see a Japanese dude win um, a world marathon major most of the time. There was a dude, I think, in Boston. The weather was total crap. It was like
Yeah, they
cold,
can handle the
and I don't think
suffering. Exactly.
I don't think Kenyans handle cold all that well in general. And so I think his name Yuki Kawauchi or something. He just gunned it, and the winning time was not super fast, but it was just this war of attrition, and he took it. And so they have like a huge culture of it, and it's really deep. So you'll see like a lot of guys run between 27 and 28 minutes in the 10K, the 10,000 meters on the track, and the world record is like low 26s. So 27 something is good. It's really really good, but they don't have anyone like 26:30 and below.
Yeah, the
So it's like
best are
they have
probably
a
like all
ton of guys
bunched right there.
yeah, so they have a ton of guys who are like really good, but they don't have like really really stand up performers in general. Um, and so yeah, it's kind of cool how some countries are really into it. Like if you had the culture of Japan with the talent of East Africa, oh my god, like it would be it'd be unreal. Yeah, yeah.
That's funny. So sorry. I mean, you don't have to get personal if you don't want to, but what are you guys doing? So you were talking about before when we talked, maybe the first time almost, geez, that was almost 2 years ago now, bro. I can't believe we've been homies that long almost. Geez. But yeah, so the dog's like a surrogate kid. What are you guys talking about? You still thinking about having any kids or what? You're saying this might be the replacement?
You're worse than the Chinese aunties.
I'm not pushing it. This is curiosity. I'm sure they're pushing
Yeah,
it.
um, we'll see. I mean, it's leaning towards no, but if we do, and the kid grows up and sees this, we always wanted you. You will definitely not
What are your reasons
stay.
for leaning towards no? Because I was a very firm no too. I mean, I know I understand a lot of reasons. I'm just curious for you or for her.
Um, it's yeah. I mean, I don't think we would be terrible parents. Um, it's just like a lot of uncertainty, and then like you get really tied down, and you can't. It's not that you can't do things; like you can still travel. You can
You can't
still
do shit, bro. Don't lie to yourself. You can't do shit. What the fuck are you talking?
but like it's like would you though? Like would
Eventually.
you want to travel? Yeah. Like, so it's just like blotting out a pretty big
Well,
chunk of
if you just have them with one baby mama, you can do a little bit more shit. It's a little easier than when you don't have multiple baby mamas. But still, you ain't doing shit for like 2 years usually.
yeah. It's because I've talked to a number of parents, and it's like sometimes publicly it looks amazing, but then you talk to them privately and they're like, yeah, I'm just fucking tired all the time, and they're just like,
That would be
you
my
know,
girl. Yeah.
yeah, like it just seems it seems like it's not even a good reason. Like, oh, it seems like a lot of work. Like, it hasn't stopped me from anything else in life, but it's like, is it worth doing? Like, is it something? I don't know. Some people know that they wanted to be parents like right away. Like, I have friends who like they knew right away that they wanted to be a dad, like right away, like in high school and stuff. And like, I don't know. For me, it never seemed all that interesting, but like I could also see the appeal of like creating life and like having this thing, having this
Parasite. You can
entity.
call it what it is. It's a parasite
Yeah,
until they're 18. From the time they're in the womb till they're out, probably past 18.
oh, he or she is going to work. It's not going to be there's land to be tilled up in this bitch. But it's like, yeah, it's a big investment of like time and energy, and it's not even about the money at this point, really, because the cost of living is not too bad here. And like I could always work more. But yeah, like is it something that like we want, and like logistics and stuff. So I guess yeah, Chocho has been a little bit of a trial run. Um,
That's what you
and
said. I think we talked not pretty soon after you got him initially. So has he been a shit show? Is he ruined it or what?
well, he's
We can't handle
definitely
this
a
fucking
handful.
Bijan.
But he's a diva. He is a diva for sure. And so yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
Well,
It's
I'll tell you
it's
this.
still.
This will be my one tiny bit of advice. How old are you?
I'm 36.
Okay, so yeah, I'm 38. Yes. And you know, I think that something some people say sometimes that's kind of bullshit is that you have to want to have kids. You have to be really about it, you know. If you don't have this burning desire to have kids, don't have kids. I think that's kind of bullshit. I do get why people say that to a certain extent, but it's like I said, I didn't want kids. I had my future mapped out. And it's just there's just I mean, there's obviously some genetic component that like unlocks when something like that happens where that's kind of how we've evolved through years. So there's shit that goes on that you can't like stop from feeling good about. But when people say that, I just don't think they take into account like the transformation that like happens once you have one, like and you see it in front of you, like okay, like so even if you don't feel like you really want it, like that I wouldn't say let that be the driving reason, even though I used to kind of feel that way, if that makes any sense.
It, it's actually interesting. I've seen like there's two types of content creators where when they have a kid, what happens. One is like they kind of go dark, where I think they're just spending a lot of time with the family and like dealing with stuff, and so they might post way less frequently. The other type is like they're going hard on social media. I think like
Dude,
where they're the breadwinner, where like they start posting 5 times as much just
yeah,
before and like being
dude,
more aggressive with the monetization and
it
stuff
makes
like that. So
it makes you realize how much time you wasted when you had time to waste, you know, instead of like hustling. Because I started YouTube after my daughter was 3 months, and I lost my gym, so I lost like my main future source of income and everything. It's like I got to fucking hustle. So I mean,
grind.
they do.
Yeah.
You can have ones for selfish reasons just to help you build your empire.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard maybe on a Chris Williamson podcast or something. It's like, yeah, the most organic, literally, way to have motivation, right? Like if you wake up and you're like, oh, like what do I, that's I'm sure a lot of that is out the window when because Chocho's dog food does not cost that much. So, like if it was like 20 times, like if we were buying gold dusted doggy chow or something, then yeah, maybe there's a little bit more. But yeah, he's a diva, but his costs are not sufficiently astronomical.
And you get like, you know, there's also nothing that's gonna like bring out the better stuff in you too than having a little person around that you have to make an impression on that you're not like a fucking dickhead and you don't want them to pick up your dickhead thing. So it's like it automatically elevates you in that way too. So and it's kind of like the fake it till you make it kind of thing in a way. It's like if it brings out the best parts of you, those are in there, you know, and if you just kind of keep those to the forefront, that becomes more of who you are in some way. So that's it. But yeah, I get it, dude. I didn't want kids, especially, you know, I had no plans. I think you can live a very fulfilling life without them. But I definitely think you would be a good father as far as teaching and all that kind of stuff and not being a total pussy like a lot of people nowadays.
Yeah, yeah, it's one of those things where like, um, if it was like, oh, she's pregnant, what do we do? Like, we would definitely have the kid. Like, I don't know, I couldn't delete,
Yeah.
I couldn't write that. Like, so like we would step up and just take care of business, but it's like that hasn't happened. So
And
yeah.
half Asians are so cute, man. My son is adorable. It really is like it's like one of the best mixes you can get. But okay, let's switch it up, brother. Let's talk about some shit. Sorry, I love just catching up with you. I mean, I feel like what do you? I mean, you probably talk about the same shit when you go on podcasts normally. You know, I don't normally watch you go on podcasts because I want to be fresh when I talk to you. But you're normally talking about like the training, the volume, and all that good stuff. So let's talk about what you got going
Uh,
on now. Yeah, what like do you ever like have you done podcasts that are like totally off topic like completely and you don't go over fitness stuff at all? Let's talk about like D&D and stuff.
Usually there's at least some fitness component, but yeah, um, sometimes yeah, stuff goes like kind of. He's trying to get into my technology drawer. No, he peed on the floor. Nice. But usually there's some aspect of training to it. But yeah, sometimes there's like really like off the wall kind of stuff that is unexpected. Yeah. Oh no, you're gonna start barking. All right, there we go. Um. So, but yeah, usually it's a nice mix. It kind of depends on like how well I know them, I guess.
Yeah.
Like if it's a total one off, then usually it's just like sets and reps kind of stuff. Yeah.
Who are the ones you got coming up? You said you got a gang the week before we do our round table, which I'm fucking psyched for. That's gonna be like sick, dude. Having all of us on there.
There was, let me double check. One actually got canceled, unfortunately. Um, and then Steve Hall.
Oh, I love Steve. I couldn't. He's the Revive guy. You know, I had him on. You know, during the whole Dr. Mike thing, like when everything was going down, like I felt so bad for me. And I didn't really feel that bad for Milo because he brought it on himself. But I'm just like, dude, he's so fucking retarded. But I felt bad for Steve. I thought the way Steve like handle things is probably how I would have handled it if it was some like if, say you did some shit, you know, you're somebody who's helped me a lot. I consider you like an online friend. And like if like you had some shit coming out about you, like first of all, I just wouldn't comment on it probably if it was really, really bad. But if it wasn't terrible, I would try to spin it in some way that made it not as bad. You know, if you weren't doing something crazy, it's like unless it was something terrible, terrible, like I trust like I value loyalty a little bit more over like the integrity of like throwing your friends under the bus because everyone else would have done it. You know what I mean? If it was something that deserved it. And so I saw him like trying to defend him, and I just felt kind of bad for him because I know that was his boy, and he likes him a lot. And then he tried to defend him, then more shit came out and made it look even worse.
The timing, yeah, the timing was bad because it was like in between, like, oh, it's not that bad, and then they sort of pretty blatantly tried to cover it up, like, oh, actually, it is that bad. Like, oh shit, and I think they posted like right before the shit hit the fan, so like it was just bad timing. But yeah, if someone, it's yeah, I get it. It's totally fine. I mean, I'd probably do something similar. I don't think I would have like helped someone cover it up, but for some people, they are like that. You know, they'll help their
Well,
friend
especially if
bury a
they're
body.
especially if it's your money, you know. I'm sure Milo probably saw dollar signs, you know.
Yeah, I don't know if anything went on behind the scenes. I do find it interesting
Well,
that
doesn't he
I think
fund
his
his shit?
video,
Don't
I think he funded his PhD, and like, yeah, there's definitely money going
yeah.
around for sure. I find it interesting because the video's still up. You know, even though Mike was like, well,
The
actually, it
Milo
was
one?
revealed.
Yeah, exactly. Of
You know,
course. That'll get 10% of
it's
people.
still up.
Yeah.
And you know, 95% of the comments are absolutely vicious. I hope he hasn't read them just for his own mental health. Like it's there are some savage comments on there, like thousands of them. Um, and it's still up. Like it's not really based on truth. Maybe some aspects of it still make sense, but you know, like overall the video. So I don't know why it was still up. He deleted another video that he did afterwards, but he didn't delete that one. So maybe there was like some contractual thing, or like, okay, calling in the favors, this has to stay up. I don't know, maybe, but
Yeah, that shit would be off my
yes,
channel
sticking
quick
with
as
your
fuck.
yeah. Well, I mean, sticking with your friends, I get it. It depends on how bad it is. Like there are a few people after Jeff Nippert was assaulted by Mike Van Wyck, that guy. There were a few people who were like sticking by him after that. I'm like, yeah, I don't know. That's a
Singing
bit much. Like
by
it's pretty
Mike.
by Mike, yeah,
Yeah,
but Mike
his whole
by
crew.
Mike
I
Van
made a
Wyck,
video about that. Yeah, that was like it's kind of ridiculous. He was like
crazy.
making shirts about it and shit. I'm like, bro, like you throat punched the guy that you're fucking towered. You used to be a bodyguard for Drake, like over a bench. Like
Yeah,
now you're making money off of it. Like I lost a lot of respect for the crew over that, you know?
and yeah, like the number of guys who said, I mean, the facts didn't matter at all. Like they just didn't. He could have like. I got the sense that even if Jeff had been really hurt, that they wouldn't have like they wouldn't have cared. It's just yeah, crazy. So I think loyalty can go like you have to look at the situation, um, and for some people, like loyalty matters more than anything, and no matter what, they're gonna stick by. Which like to a certain extent, fair enough, but when it goes too far, it's just enabling shitty behavior, really.
Yeah, and I get too like there's a certain like especially if someone's done something for you in the past and you feel like you owe them or like you don't you know you want to make sure that you're not ungrateful for what they've done. But yeah, that whole thing was
Sure.
wild. I'm so happy that Solomon's video went so big. I'm gonna have an awesome week of podcast at the end of the month because I'm supposed to jump on with him on his with some people I don't know who's on there, and then we've got our roundtable at the end of the year, so that'll be sick, man. We'll finish it out pretty good. So yeah, I was just we hadn't really talked since the mic stuff, so I was just curious on your thoughts on that. Like, is there anything else that comes to your mind as far as impact you think it'll have, or anything else you want to go over? I don't want. Obviously, we don't got to
Uh,
dive deep. This is this is. I'm sure you've talked a lot about
well,
it.
I know you've mentioned and hypothesized about his potential humiliation fetish. I think he probably does.
I
I
do too.
mean,
There's got to be no explanation now.
I've heard him talk about like one of his fantasies is like a woman looking at him disgusted as he,
Oh,
and I'm like, what the fuck are we doing here? And so
yeah.
I think he actually does, which explains like the Marine video where he runs 11-minute mile pace for half a mile or something, and it's like, and is totally cool with like that going out there, like because it's maybe he's just like, oh yeah,
Yeah, dude, you're so wrong.
look
That's why they left the video up. He's just reading those comments, just like absorbing the hate.
I mean, yeah, it could be any normal person would it would like negatively impact their mental health, and maybe for him it's a weird positive. So, but that, and then it like if you follow that thread, was the cover up blatant enough to make people realize so that they would leave the comments and shit would hit the fan hard enough that he would be able to get there. I don't know. Like, it's
It's
just
got
like
it's got to escalate. Like the pictures of his bloody ass got him so far, and then now he had to go, like, take it to the next level and actually have an impact on his financial situation. Maybe I've heard him talk about that, how he's into financial humiliation. I did hear him say that about how like that's kind of what he likes. Some girls that's their thing. It's fucking wild.
geez,
I definitely
that's
think that we're onto something there.
yeah, that's crazy, but it the pieces all fit together. And it's like, yeah, he's a weird dude. Let's put it that way. And I still have videos up on my channel about like rating a fitness YouTuber, and I think he got like a 94 out of 100. So people don't realize how he was actually a pretty good source of information like 4 or 5 years ago, and it's just been like this descent into madness,
Right.
which is weird because he had a lot of goodwill, and then like I think when you have a lot of goodwill, you get some leeway from those people. Like you could say wild shit, and people are like, you probably didn't mean that, or maybe it was out of context, even though it was in context. Or you have this momentum of like, oh, but he's a good source of information. He just said something kind of weird. You get that. You get it the opposite way, of course, as well, right? Like, imagine if V-Shred start putting out good information, you'd be like, well, I don't know if that really makes up for all the Facebook ads targeting people who have no idea what they're doing, right? So if you have momentum in a certain direction, it takes a while to undo that. And he had so much good momentum among serious lifters for a while that, yeah, it was almost like an emperor's new clothes kind of thing until like you called it out, and then Solomon as well. And I've been calling him out respectfully at first, less respectfully later, because he was less deserving of respect
Yeah, that's
later.
another. Yeah,
Um,
exactly what you're talking about. Same thing.
yeah. So yeah, it's been and then ironically during that time, their subscriber count 10x, right? They went from like 200K to millions. So yeah, it is very interesting how the quality of the information that you put out has almost nothing to do with your following.
I'm
It might
saying
even be
once you
inversely.
get big enough, yeah, that's totally. I totally noticed that what you're talking about. Like people over the year, like last 2 years or so, like when they would call them out, it was so like walking on eggshells and so delicate, and then it got to the point where they're just like over it. That's funny. I didn't really think about that, but what it was funny
Dorian,
was. Yeah, that was the best. Exactly. Dorian just fucking ripping on him.
he,
Uh,
he knew, he sensed like, okay, I've been wanting to say this shit for a while, but now's the time.
That
It's
that
like,
was
all
like
right,
cutting too, just the perfect delivery. What was funny, speaking of Mike, was the like him doing the athletic stuff, all the jumping and all that. So we'll use that to bridge us into your athletic training. I'm sure you look a lot different than Mike. I hope a little bit. Jesus, I'm sure you do. So like, what's going on right now? Are you a hybrid person now, a hybrid athlete, and what does that look like, and how's your training changed exactly?
yeah, I did my yearly Instagram post a couple
Yeah,
days
looking
ago,
shredded, bro.
and
It's a good look.
Thanks, man.
Is it
Yeah,
like
I'm down.
comfortable, not terrible to maintain, or is this look is hard to maintain?
It's like it's like base camp where if I go lower, I have to focus and concentrate and like accept a little bit of hunger, I think. But I'm kind of like just gradually getting my toe in the water and trying to get a little bit leaner. And then I think at a certain point, you just sense, okay, this is too lean, right? It might be like 1 pound difference or 1 kilo difference. Suddenly you're at an altitude where the oxygen is just not quite thick enough to keep you going, right? It's the same thing with body fat. So
Do you have a
I'm
muscle
okay right.
that you pay attention to when you're cutting that tells you if you've gone too far?
Yeah, I would say if I wake up and I have like just a sheet of veins on my abs, then I'm like, ah, okay, I'm gonna be hungry at some point today, right? So,
But like,
or
do you
like I
lose a body
just,
part?
what do you mean?
Like, I mean, for like us, when we're getting ready for a show, like we'll end up like starting to lose a certain weaker body part as we're starting to dial down too low, and
Um,
that's kind of like a tell for
yeah,
us. Maybe we're
yeah,
pushing a
yeah,
little
yeah.
too far.
Gotcha. Yeah, I know what you mean. I'll look a little stringy and distance runnery. Like my forearms will start to look not nearly as full, and um, my glutes, like if I'm wearing shorts, there just be like nothing back there. Like just I still have
Yeah,
glutes,
that's
and they're like I have a vein in my right glute now. Like that's another sign I'm getting pretty lean. But like when you're very lean, you just don't have glutes when you're wearing like shorts. Like they're just you still have like they still function well. Like my performance is still pretty good, but I mean when I'm bulked up, man, I have like a 45-inch hips, but now I have 41 or 42 or something. It's like it's totally different. And then I would say also lats and chest, which have been like traditionally been my weak points anyway, they'll start looking pretty flat. I don't think it's necessarily muscle loss. It's just like less hydration and less glycogen. And I think if you eventually if you keep pushing too hard, yeah, you
yeah,
might
that's your
lose muscle.
future.
Right, exactly. Yeah, you're getting glimpses of like the path that you're going down. And I think especially if natural, there's not much you can do about that apart from like dieting more slowly. And it's almost like the game of whack-a-mole becomes more difficult where like you have to hit everything sufficiently hard frequently enough to convince your body to keep it. And the leaner you get, the more your body's like, okay, well, we don't have that much fat left, and you're still dieting. And like, do we really need this side delt? Well, you only hit it 4 days ago for not that many sets because you were tired, and so maybe we can just get rid of a little bit of this because it's kind of expensive. And so, yeah, your budget is shrinking, and the expenses are always going to be there. And not only is your budget shrinking, but your reserves are shrinking. So you're making less money and you have less money in the bank. And your body's like, okay, well, how do we keep everything? And so, that's where at a certain point, you just might not be able to do enough and recover enough because your work capacity is often fine. It's your ability to recover that changes. Like when you're bulked up, I found, and I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on this. When you're bulked up, your work capacity and your recovery capacity are closer together. But when you're cut down, I find I can still do the work. I just can't recover from the work, right? Because more cardio or just like less reserves. And so if I'm bulked up, I do 4 sets and I crush it, and like I have enough capacity to do that work, but I also have enough reserves to recover from the work. So I do my 4 sets or whatever. I come back a few days later, I'm stronger. Whereas when I'm cut down, I have the ability to do that work, but then I come back the same amount of time later and I'm weaker. And I was like, what? But it's just that you don't have as much ability to recover because you're eating less and maybe sleep is disrupted, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's where like I try to focus a little bit more on like the peri workout kind of stuff. If I am gonna take most of my calories and carbs, stuff will be pre, intra, and post. But yeah, and then like I can like right now like I slept like 5 hours last night. I'll work out today. I'll feel fine because like I'm fucking fat and fed. Like I can handle a couple like a day without that good of sleep. Like, but if you're not
Yeah.
like in a surplus and get one day like that, you're like fuck. I need my reserves to go towards recovery an extra day instead of getting it in.
Yeah, I have a video on the channel called "I Don't Eat Until 6 p.m." and bulked up. Like I can go the whole morning fasted, go work out at like 2 p.m. or whatever. Okay, finish the workout, walk around a little bit, order food, get back, and I'm fine eating at 6 p.m. and then again at like 9 p.m. And I have a big enough appetite where I can actually bulk on like most of my calories in that range. But when leaner, that does not work
Oh
nearly as
fuck
well
no.
because
Not at all.
you need energy before the workout and before the workout, and your body just doesn't like being without energy because excuse me, because every pound of fat can only release a certain amount of fat. A pound of fat can't release a pound of fat a day, right? If you have a pound of fat here, it can't just all be dissolved and used in a day, right? Like you have to have, I forget the actual rate, but you have so much less fat that you have to diet more slowly, and you almost have to have your carbs be the majority energy source because you just can't rely too much on fat because you don't have nearly as much of it. And so, especially when you're getting down to like sub 10%, I think, and 9 and 8 and 7 and 6, and it's just you have to be a lot more careful. Like dieting to 12, 13, 14%, totally different thing than getting shredded. Like they're just the structure of it. And I'm going to be doing a book on diet as well, and where I'll be talking about this. I think I have enough experience where I feel good about talking about it.
Is
And
that
it's
part where
like,
this transformation was for? You got the like, oh, this is a good one now.
um, no, well, maybe in part. Mostly I just like trying stuff before I talk about it. Like if I do a section on getting shredded without ever having gotten shredded, although I did get pretty lean in 2023, but yeah, if someone tried to talk about how to get shredded and they've never done it, like it's like hard to actually trust that they know what that is because it's not just what is it on paper. It's not just a numbers thing. It's how you feel and the psychology behind it.
And you came from a pretty
And
high starting place, right? Like at least at least a couple of those pics look like it.
yeah, I got up to 106, so like 230, 235-ish pounds. So I don't know if I'll ever be up that high again. Um, People are like, when's the next bulk? I'm like, I don't know, man. I'm not in a rush to get back
It's
up that high.
uncomfortable. Yeah.
Uh, it's you don't realize how bad you look until later. Because when you're in the clothes, like you're filling it out, you're like, yeah, man, and you're strong, and like everything is progressing well, and you don't realize how smooth you are until you get lean, like 40 pounds later, and you're like, oh, you know, maybe that was a little bit high, but I don't have any regrets. I don't, I still think for most people, especially earlier on in their training journey, bulking and cutting is a good approach. And it is interesting that I've noticed a lot of really successful lifters, they had at least one bulk that maybe went a bit too far on paper. But the thing is, it's so common. It's so common that they had at least one bulk. And I wonder if there's almost something to that where the body like changes after it got north of 20% and it makes building muscle easier even in the long term. I don't know. But it does seem to be very common. And it's not just like indulging, right? It's not just like, oh, an excuse to go to Wendy's, like as Gregory said, or anything like that. No, it's just like being really focused on trying to gain weight and gain performance and arguably maybe it going a little bit too far. But again, I see it so commonly that it's certainly not the end of the world because even if I gain new fat cells, I don't see any issues with getting lean after that. Like you look at Alberto Nunez, he's known for being completely peeled. He just
That's what I was
competed
thinking of.
recently.
Yeah, because yeah, he talked about the big
Like
bulks.
250, 260. Yeah, he went he went all in on a bulk. And so yeah, when people are like, No, the fat cells, I don't know. I would be more worried about the stretch marks and loose skin at a certain
Yeah.
point than the fat cells. Yeah.
I'm curious about this since you do a little bit of the fasting stuff too. This is an approach I've taken. I take it with my natural guys, but I'm curious about your thoughts. Is if we are doing kind of fasting stuff, like you said, when you get to a certain amount of leanness, like it's just not really a good option to push it that far. I would assume, especially as a natty, like when I'm talking about like sub 10%, like when we're trying to dial in. So what I have my people do typically, and I see a lot of people do the opposite. I see a lot of like slow into the diet. Like I kind of like to blow through the reserves, and I start the fast like long in the beginning until you kind of can't sustain them, and then I'll like take them out or make them less frequent and kind of do the more traditional stuff. But I think people are like not aggressive enough when they start their cuts. What are your thoughts on
Oh,
that?
100%, 100%. Like I remember uh, some very big content creator said something like, "Yeah, when you start dieting, go into a 300 calorie deficit, and then when you stall, take out another 200 calories." I'm thinking like, this is going to take forever because you're not going to stall until for a while, and I mean, I will easily when I start a cut at least 1,000 calorie deficit, at least
Yeah,
like
you're just
minimum a
burning
thousand calories.
reserves, you know?
Definitely. You're just burning more fat. Like it's just why would you pussyfoot the easiest part of the diet, right? They're dieting like they're 8% body fat when they're 28% or something. Yeah. So yeah, the higher your body fat percentage is, the more aggressive you can and should be ideally. Now some people, if they have a history of trying that and it didn't work and they rebounded and stuff, okay, maybe we can go a little more slowly. Like I have a couple clients who I've worked with for like 3, 4, 5 years. And like, yeah, we've taken a long term approach. But yeah, my ideal approach is, hey, let's go pedal to the metal, especially if you're north of 20% body fat, which a lot of people are who might not realize they think they're 15 or something and they're probably 20 plus. Um, yeah, I'm pretty aggressive with that at the beginning. And that might be intermittent fasting. That might be like a protein spared modified fast. I use that fairly frequently. Um, that might be like a higher step count to try to drive the deficit as well. But yeah, it's one of those things where it doesn't matter if you count or if you don't count. Like you should be aggressive at the beginning for sure. Yeah. So we're in a complete agreement there.
Yeah, that always never made just sense to me, you know. But I hear a lot of natties, especially, make the argument the other way. But let's get into your hybrid training stuff. So what are you doing with it? What's your split like right now? How are you incorporating it?
Yeah. So traditionally, my split has been sort of legs, chest and back, and then arms and shoulders, repeated with days off, kind of by feel. And that is that I ran that for like 3 years or more, and then has been very kind to me, and I still think it's a very good split. That's the thing about the internet. When you change your split, people think the old split was trash, right? It's like, oh, if you changed it, it must have been terrible. No, like my goals change. So right now my split is upper, so full upper, so chest and back and arms and delts, everything in there. Then lower, so hinges, squats, isolations, then another upper, and then like a running day. So I'm basically only running once every 4 days, which is still enough for me to progress. I do cardio on the upper days, but just incline walking on the treadmill. And so yeah, I'm only hitting lower body once every 4 days. Although sometimes on the run days, I'll do some kind of lower body stuff. Like it might be calves, it might be abs, it might be like one moderately big movement, but I'm not gonna like squat heavy on that day
Yeah.
or deadlift heavy. It's gonna be like something accessory-ish, maybe a back extension or um, maybe a walking lunge or something to
Yeah.
get the blood
How long's your
flowing.
run?
Uh, so they vary. I've been doing a lot of treadmill stuff because the track has been closed. So generally, I will. I've been experimenting with a lot of different workouts, but generally I'll start with stuff at like 13 kilometers per hour and 5% slope. So that's around I think 8 miles per hour, like 7 something minutes per mile. But with the 5% slope, it's significantly more challenging. And I set the 5% slope. I think Alec Glennis, he's also a hybrid,
Yeah.
hybrid guy. He does a lot of like 6% slope on the treadmill, and I find it's I use 5%. I think 5-6% somewhere in there is totally fine. 5-6-7%. Where it's steep enough where it takes away a lot of the pounding, almost all really, but it's not so steep that your mechanics are changing a lot. Like I've done 10%, 15%, 20% slope, and especially 15 to 20%. It's stressful on the cardiovascular system for sure, but mechanically, in terms of just how you're landing and the stress on the hamstrings versus the quadriceps, it's a different skill. And so, and you're going to be running more slowly because of the slope, because it's more taxing. And so I'll do faster stuff at 15%, not 20%, because these treadmills at the new gym don't go to 20%. But I'll do some stuff at 15%, but fast. So I'll do like 18 kilometers per hour, 15% slope for like 30 seconds or something, which is I think 11 miles per hour or so, 11 and a half miles per hour. So it's pretty quick, especially with the 15% slope. But I almost keep that as like a cherry on top at the end of the workout. All right. So I'll do most stuff at 5% and then a little bit of 15% and faster, just from like more anaerobic type of stimulus. Um, and I like a lot of like 2 to 5 minute intervals currently. So I guess you could say like VO2-ish type of pace.
What's your total time usually?
Usually between 30 and 60 minutes, like 45 to 60 minutes, including the rest times. So the rest times I'll just sort of step off the treadmill and let it keep going. And strangely, only one of the treadmills keeps going. The other ones are like, "Hey, bro, are you still doing the workout? We're going to shut off in
Like
3 seconds."
instantly? They don't give you, yeah, they usually give you a little bit of time, like a
They give
minute.
you like, they give you like 5 seconds. It's crazy.
They got to
When
conserve
you step
power out
off to
there.
get yeah. So, but one of the treadmills, for whatever reason, just keeps going indefinitely. Must be bugged or something, and
That's
that's my treadmill. If
they
I
know
get
that.
on that, I take their shit, I throw it out of the no. So I wait patiently until they. And I've tested all the other treadmills, and all of them shut off except for this one. So yeah,
That's funny
that's the
because
treadmill I
that will
usually.
just ruin your shit, right? If someone's on there and you can't do anything, like, what are you gonna do? Like, okay,
And I can't get pissed at someone doing a 45-minute treadmill workout because I was going to do a
yeah.
45-minute
Dude,
workout. So
yeah, I love Alec. I was gonna ask you if you followed his stuff since you're the hybrid, and he's kind of I would consider him like the pinnacle of hybrid, like being pretty elite at both things. Did you see our podcast at all? He was man, he is a fucking awesome dude to talk to. I definitely want to get him back on. He'll make me feel like a pussy though, so I gotta be ready for that.
he's super smart and he thinks about these things. You can tell when someone thinks about these things a lot and like also has the experience. And I think those are the best sources of information, right? Like they don't just walk the walk, but it's clear they've spent a lot of time thinking about it. Because I do think some elite performers, they haven't really thought about it that much.
Yeah.
They're just really good. Like they just all come so naturally to them. And so when you ask them the details, like maybe they don't know any of the details because the details didn't matter to them, or they could have just done whatever. But yeah, it's so clear to me that he's thought about this stuff a lot, which makes him a really good source of information because he's really nuanced and he can explain like the trade-offs and the details, which matters a ton with the hybrid stuff, right? It's not just oh slam a bunch of running and lifting together. No, like how you structure it and set it up matters quite a bit. But then he's also not like, oh, you're fragile. Oh, you need to be really careful about this at all.
No.
So that's also yeah.
Yeah.
So
I,
yeah, he's a really good.
he's a really good communicator. I love talking to people like him that are just really bright and good at communicating and like in a different area of field and different lens than me and stuff that I can like really learn from in a like a different perspective. Like I said, I really like getting the perspective of smart people who aren't in my same exact field and lens because it really helps you a lot to see things through the other perspective. So yeah, I think he puts out great shit and it's cool that he does. I have seen a couple of his YouTubes where he goes and like he'll work out with somebody and they kind of have their own little styles that they bring together. So he's fucking awesome. Um, Your plyos. What are you doing for your plyometrics? I saw you doing some jumping. How are you incorporating them? Are you doing like the whole ping, light, medium, deep tier type of stuff, or what's your setup?
So I've been doing it's almost like a warm up actually at the beginning of like either I do them on both the lower body and the running day. And I kind of go by feel either a box jump or a broad jump. And I started out just very easy with the box jumps where for a box jump, part of it is your vertical, so how high you can jump. But then the other part of it is how high can you bring up your legs, right? So there's the extension component where you're extending your ankles, you're extending your knees, you're extending your hips. I guess you're flexing your arms and trying to toss them overhead to help you go up. But then when you're trying to get onto the box, you're bringing your ankles up, you're bringing your knees up, you're flexing your hips, and then you're bringing your arms down to try to make sure that you're getting as high as possible. Um, so there's the vertical component, how high can you jump, and then how good are you at bringing your legs up? Essentially, I'm pretty good at bringing the legs up, and so people were like, "Oh, you've got to have a mid 30-inch vertical based on my 51-inch, 130 centimeter box jump." My vertical is maybe 30, maybe that would be pretty
That's
generous. I
still
think
that's still good for a white dude, 36-year-old white dude.
it's I it might be under 30. Like I would have to test it. I kind of tested today where I jumped onto a low box to see if I could land with straight legs. Because if you can land with straight legs and no knee bend at all, that's your vertical, right? I know a lot of people try to do the reach thing where they're reaching for a bell or whatever it is. Um, that's fine as well, but you have to calibrate, okay, how long is your reach and then how much higher are you reaching? You can just try to jump on a box and see how high, because you're just measuring how high do your hips go, essentially, right? So yeah, it's probably somewhere between 24 and 30 inches. And then I'm getting like another 24 inches ish from the tuck from bringing the legs up. So a 51-inch box jump is okay. It's good, but it's nothing amazing. And then the other one I do is a broad jump, and I also do it from a box to a box. So you're essentially sitting on a box, and then you're leaning forward, and then you're doing the broad jump. And I find this is just more comfortable for one. Um, and I think Blade McConnell, I saw these from him. I always like to cite where I see stuff because it just makes me feel good, shouting out people. I saw them from him and I thought, okay, yeah, I'll try that. And it just felt better than a normal broad jump. And then you land on a box as well. If you're trying to set these up, make sure it's a soft box, not like a hard wood box or some shit like that. Because if you miss, same with a box jump, if you miss and you slam your shin or something, it's not great. So it's a soft box. And so you're trying to land on a box as well. Now, because you're landing on a box, you're not going as far as you would because you're trying to get to a certain height. So essentially, you're getting a bit of distance when you're taking off because your feet are in front of the box, but then you're also not going quite as far because you're landing to a box. And I've done about 9.5 feet there. And I would say that probably converts to about 9.5 feet with just a normal broad jump, which is pretty good. But I think the world record's like 12 feet and 3 inches or something. And that might sound semi close. It's not. 12 feet is insane. It's just crazy.
It is kind of wild to think because when that is only 3 feet. I saw your broad jumps; they look good, but it's like when you watch the best, it seems like they just hang for so much longer. Like it's like it's only 3 feet, but it's like they look like they're just flying.
It's crazy how good the best jumpers are, right? Like I saw someone do, I think it was a 60, I think it was a 62-inch box jump, and people might say, "Oh, you've improved your box jump however many inches in the past few months." Yeah, but like it's going to slow down, and people don't realize 52 or 51 versus 62 is a huge gap, and so
Man,
yeah,
they
it's the
just
best
move
jumper
so
in the world.
different.
I'm not very explosive. That's the thing. I'm I'm okay. Like I've improved because I've worked at it, but I'm not naturally explosive. Like if you look at Blaine move, it's like boom, and then he glides, boom, and then he glides. Whereas me, it's like maybe I have a bit of a longer. I forget how tall he is, but I have I have long arms, I have fairly long legs, and so I have like a very lengthy broad jump. But it's not that explosive. It's mostly long because I'm tall and I get like a big extension, but I don't have a lot of pop. Some jumpers are just, yeah, they just hover. They just bounce and then they get so much force production so quickly. Whereas I need like a
Yeah.
long wind up. And I think that is probably mostly genetic. If I'm being, I
Yeah.
know I'm not supposed to say that. People are like, oh, no, you can't mention genetics. Like, you have to be able to train it. Well, you can get better at it, but like, you can appreciate that there are differences, and some of those are just inherent.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah. I saw an Olympic triple jumper. I think he was a medalist too, which I don't know why they even do a triple jump. It's kind of silly, but yeah, yeah. I was watching him. He was down there at WEC. I was in WEC's lab, WEC method, and the energy that he had stored didn't make sense to me. Like just looking, I'm like, you're not like it's just like you're not like you're barely bending. Like how do you have so much just spring and just like bounce to you? And so yeah, I mean, I mean you can train that stuff, right? So that's what the other, I mean, but again, it's genetics overall, but that's what they do the other tiers for. So are you familiar with some of that shit? The like McKinnis, do you know McKinnis Watson? I think that's his name. He's like the plyo guy. He's kind of like the guru. I asked him to I really wanted him to come on the podcast. Angus recommended him and I hit him up. I reached out. I was like, hey, I would love to have you on sometime. This is like back in like May, and he's like, "I'm already doing a podcast this year." Like that was it. I was like, so I don't think he does a ton of shit. I was like, "Oh, okay, well, maybe next year if you're free, that'd be sweet." Because that shit that I know about.
That's a
I know,
at
but
least he's being.
yeah, I know he's got priorities probably. But when he goes into, I mean, a lot of people use the model is like the pings and the lights and the medians and the deep tier. Are you familiar with those at all? So it's kind of
No,
like what you're
no.
doing to be considered like deeper tier, like the more powerful. You're yielding, pretty good. You're like, because you have to, because it's such a powerful, like full explosive move. So they would call that kind of like the deep tier, which is probably the kind of stuff that bodybuilders are like the best at intuitively, right? Because that's what
Right.
correlates most with what we do. And you can make those like deep tier yielding, yeah, or you can make it more like explosive bias. So sometimes like I'll see them like sometimes I'll bias like not even quite jumping all the way up, and like staying a little bit in the squat and then sometimes just getting like full explosiveness. And so then they've got like the pings, which the ping is about like elasticity and just that quick fast absorption. That's what you see people doing the jumps where they're just barely bending. They're just trying to get off the ground as quick as they can. And that's a lot of connective tissue stuff that can be, that is pretty impactful. You can't do like a crazy amount of those. Can't do a crazy amount of the deep tiers. Then you got the light tiers, which is kind of like your warm ups, cool downs, your really high volume stuff, where it's more about like rhythm and stuff. So it's less ground contact time than any of them, besides like the ping, where it's just so like strict. So it's kind of like bouncing around, having rhythm. And then they have the medium tier, where you might see like bounding ice skate or stuff that's kind of in between the light and the deep tier. So they all have kind of different adaptations that they do, and certain ones you can play a direction ability a little bit better. So it's kind of cool because it's this. I'm just like with you, like this is shit that I've never done over the last 3 months. I've been trying to do like one day a week of some kind of jumps. I put it on my member section because I fucking look like a fucking clown. It's like that'll really show you where you're in balance. Like you have like one arm going way back and the other doesn't go back and shit. But it's fun to like do something you're not good at to see yourself get better at it again. But yeah, I think that's pretty cool. I'll shoot you one of his links so you can check out his shit because his shit's really good.
I've done a little bit of that hurdle stuff where you jump over a hurdle and just try to bounce and jump over the next one. I'm pretty bad at it. Like I can tell, and it's interesting you mentioned bodybuilders are better at like the just concentric thing where you don't have to absorb and then store and then release. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I can. If you give me some time, like it's okay. But the quick
Yeah,
stuff is like, yeah,
exactly.
I can tell. Like even jumping on one leg is I can tell like my body, my calf, the Achilles, even the hip and the stabilizers are like, okay, well, we haven't done this in a long time. Like it's almost like jumping on one leg is harder than running because running is something I'm used to and I have the muscle memory and it's almost you have the momentum from each stride. But I gotta think that if you can't jump on one leg for 30 seconds and feel like proficient and stable and strong, it's got to be some kind of weakness in your stride because like if you can't hold a position statically, how are you going to do it hundreds of times while moving forward and having to stabilize during the movement? So yeah, I think it is a weakness. And then yeah, when you feel, oh, I'm jumping on my left leg, this feels a certain way. I'm jumping on my right, that's different. Feel it differently in the hip. Maybe I should like jump on that. Like maybe it's something to pay attention to.
No, I got you. I
Yeah.
think your social
Okay.
credit score is going down. They're cutting your internet.
Yeah. Could be the VPN.
But yeah, I
What was the
got
last
most
thing
of
you
that.
heard?
I got most of that. You were just talking about how, like, and this is something that Angus talks about too. I love Angus's stuff. He's not quite as impressive as Alec to look at, but his shit's really good. But yeah, he talks about hopping on one leg. I got to burn Angus every now and then. I don't know why I love Angus, but he talks a lot about the benefits of hopping on one leg and how just fucking start. Like just there's like it doesn't have to be like some big huge thing. Just fucking get in the air. Just start a little bit. Start somewhere.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. And like you're gonna look silly, and it's gonna feel bad. Like it's gonna feel really bad. Um, and it might feel bad for a while, but the body is adapting sort of under the surface. And yeah, I think a lot of runners are just weak, where they can't do like their core is weak and their hips are weak, and they're just when you hear about how many runners are injured every year, it's like two-thirds of runners or something. I mean, yeah, I think it's mostly just weakness and just a lack of strength and a lack of structural durability as well. So yeah, it's something I've been working on. Um, it's it's not easy, it's certainly not impressive. And I've shown a little bit on my Instagram stories, um, and I don't really mind putting myself out there, even if it's something that's not impressive.
Yeah, I think that's really important for people to see us suck at things sometimes. One thing I would say that I do for like the pings, just because it's a lot, like you were saying, like our bodies aren't really used to that in bodybuilding. We're not moving ballistically at all. We're very unathletic in the gym, really, if you think about it. And like I'll unweight myself with a band a little bit too, like put on a high pull-up bar so I can just take a little bit, and it gives me a little bit more ability to push the time a little bit too.
Yeah, I think because people don't realize how much the extra muscle doesn't help with this kind of stuff. Like it just doesn't. If you look at any high jumper or triple jumper or long jumper, they're not big people. They're not carrying around a lot of weight. Just because that's extra stuff that they need to move. It's extra wear and tear, and like it just beats you up a little bit more. And so, but then you do need to improve. Like you do need to do it to get the adaptations, but it's easy to overdo, especially when you're carrying around. I mean, I'm 50 pounds heavier than I was as a runner, and I mean, the vast majority of that is muscle, and so I'm not willing to give that up, but I still want to run, even if I won't be as fast. And so yeah, I think unweighting yourself. They actually have like ultra G treadmills where you can like strap yourself in. Yeah, they use them um, on like elite athletes where you're on a treadmill, except you're essentially suited into this thing where your waist is totally joined to the machine, and then it sucks out some of your body weight, and so you can get in your running with like 60% of your weight
Oh
or
shit.
something. Yeah, yeah. And so you're faster, obviously, but it's also easier on the body. And then some people go the weighted vest route, so they go they go in the opposite direction as well. Like we already have weighted vests, we don't we
Yeah,
don't need
exactly.
anymore.
Exactly. That's funny. Let's run through some of these questions. Actually, I think I got some decent ones. We'll run. You can go through as quick as you want. What's both yours and his current bodybuilding split? You already gave yours. Mine, I don't fucking know, man. I just do random shit essentially. I basically hit everything. I'm kind of like on a 4 day split and a 6 day routine, like more or less. So everything gets hit kind of once within 6 days at least. But sometimes shit happens. Um, Not much of a question, but more of a topic. How does GVS's way of training triceps compare with the ECM model way of training the triceps? What are the specifics of training triceps properly informed? So, I mean, like the people who invented this shit, like Bill, they would really hate this question so much. Like the ECM model's way of training. I mean, I get we're kind of like carving out something, but I mean, there's really no ECM model way of training. But what I will say is, like when I watch GVS train, I see, and I've talked about this on some of the videos we've done before. I've done like I see you do things intuitively that a lot of bodybuilders would do, that feels good, that fall into line with what we would think of as like maintaining good expansion. Like essentially for ECM lens, we just don't want to have unnecessary compression that's not going to put force where we want it. So for example, for the triceps, like a lot of times I might try to do some tricep work with a little bit more of an expanded posterior rib cage, where I'm a little bit out with my scap, it's a little bit abducted, it's a little bit elevated. That's gonna like leverage my long head a lot better. And I see you do a lot of stuff kind of intuitively in that position. So it's like a lot of this stuff, ECM is just basically don't use shitty form, more or less. So it's not like one specific thing. So I would say when I watch you do your workouts, you do a lot of this stuff just intuitively, or you're not thinking about it, but you've got that ability. So I'm just curious, what are your thoughts on this? Do you have any? I mean, I mean ECM training. Like, I don't know how to coin that exactly yet.
Well, yeah, I would say you're almost more qualified to answer that than me because you know my training and the model, whereas I know my training, but I don't know the model like nearly as well. I would say it depends on the movement that I'm doing. And yeah, I'm mostly just trying not to have the tension go anywhere else excessively. Like it might drift there at times, but I'm very aware of when it does and how much it does. And I never do it more than what I want it to do. Right. So, if I'm doing, let's say, a short rope push down or a long rope push down, like where you have two ropes and you can get like a really big sweep, some people might say, oh, this is just lats because you're doing this. Well, that can also be long head of the triceps, right? Which is what I'm trying to do, especially with the longer rope push down. Now, if I'm going like this or doing a standing cable pullover, to an untrained observer, they look very similar or even identical. But for me, if I do this versus I do this, I'm hitting two totally different areas. Like there might be a little bit of lat at the beginning when I'm trying to do the triceps movement. Like there wants to be some involved, but because I'm up here and I'm sweeping back and I'm sweeping out a little bit, the lats just don't. They're not even moving. Like they're not even contracting. Like if I do it with one arm, there's just like no lats at all for the majority of the movement. Whereas if I'm like bringing my shoulders forward and driving down and keeping them tucked, it's still a little bit of triceps, especially because I'm triceps dominant, but it's really digging into the lats, right? So your scapular position, it matters a ton. So when someone says, oh, the shoulder's extending, it's lats, it's too much lats. I'm like, no, no, it's not. You fucking kidding me? Like, I know it's not lats. Someone's like, oh, you shouldn't do that. Look at my triceps, bitch. Like, really?
Exactly.
And
No,
so,
you're talking about Ben. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
yeah. And so it's crazy how people will try to gaslight you and tell you what you did to build a muscle is bad or it didn't work, but when
The
it
thing that
clearly
you're feeling
did,
happening is not happening, bro.
it's crazy. And then when I'm doing like a short row push down, again, like people might say, oh, you bring it up and you're getting lats involved. But if you're shrugged up and in this position, you really can't get a lot of lats, right? It's not like a pull down where you're depressing and then you're elevating and you're bringing the upper arm down. When you're in this position and you're flared out enough, the lats just they don't do this. Like maybe a little bit of teres, maybe a little bit of scapular stuff, but it's just like getting momentum to drive it down into the long head as well as the other heads of the triceps. So it's almost like you're using the long head to overload, right? Like I'm driving down and then I'm bringing up, driving down and then I'm bringing it up. So I think a lot of people, they think they're non-responders to training, but I look at them train and I don't think anyone would respond. to how they train. Right?
Yeah.
When people are like, oh, it's just genetics, I'm like, if I trained the way you fucking train, I would never, I'd still be 150 pounds. Like I'd still look like a distance runner. So yeah, the details matter. Where the tension goes matters. And I think most of all, just having a bit of humility, especially when you're talking to someone who actually did build muscle, is super important. But then also, like on my end, still looking to learn from other people as well. Like if someone is a good source of information, or if they build muscle themselves, or if they have a lot of experience, and they critique me, hey, I'm all ears because like I'm still looking to get better. But if some no name profile pictureless fuck online is like, hey, you're doing it wrong, I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to ignore you or say stuff to you, right? Like it's just like you have to assess where it comes from, you know?
And something else I think that you're good at that was another question I saw. It kind of touches on what you were saying. They were asking about what do we think about the current like obsession with isolation movements, but something that you do and something I think people misunderstand too is just because something's not an isolation movement doesn't mean you can't do a movement that gets a lot of things involved that's going to direct a fuck ton of tension to one kind of specific area. Like you can create a big compression force to a target area by even if other stuff isn't moving. You don't have to, trap yourself to a cable pole and, and like use a cuff to isolate shit.
100%. And this is where people don't understand what is going on. Like for instance, I'm actually kind of curious about your thoughts on this. I've been doing rack pulls from the knee, so right at the kneecap, and I essentially use it as a back movement, where like the hips are still extending, and the knees to a certain extent are still extending as well. Not as nearly as much as if it was above the kneecap, and you can just quarter squat that shit up, right? That's too easy. But right at the kneecap, there's a little bit of knee extension, a bit of hip extension, but a lot of it is like upper back where you're in this rounded position and then you sort of come out of it using the spinal erectors very actively. And I've had people shit on the movement because it's a short range of motion, which overall it is, but it's also using the upper back through more range of motion than some people's deficit deadlifts. Like if you see someone do a deficit deadlift with a totally flat back, that's less range of motion than if you're doing a rack pull and using the erectors more actively. And so people are like, oh, how'd you get the Christmas tree lower back? And I'm like, okay, well, that. And they're like, no, oh, no, no way. Well, you have to look at how it is done, right? The execution is just as important as like the name of the exercise,
Yeah.
right? Because you can also do a rack pull keeping a flat back and like keeping over the bar and using it as like a hip extension movement. So yeah, like knowing what you are doing and where the tension is going and how to execute the movement is super important. Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, like people I see a lot of people doing the isolation with the tricep stuff, and that's fine. That's good. I like to isolate triceps too, but you could do like a push down with like a straight bar where your shoulders are moving and you're driving in some IR, and like you got a lot of stuff, some pecs and shoulders in there, but you're gonna feel like that lateral medial head like crazy at the end. So it kind of, I mean, again, when you think about it from my lens, this stuff makes sense. If you think of it from a dead guy lens, it's like, oh well, that doesn't. But it's all about the gradient that you're creating. So yeah, and like I said, most good bodybuilders feel this stuff intuitively. It's the problem is a lot of people have been told to train this shit out of their out of their systems. Um,
Yeah, like when you a 2D model, right? Like if you just look at a cross section of like, oh, the lats do this and he's doing this, but you have to look at other, there's a third dimension that's a little bit important for lifting,
yeah,
kind of.
well, I think people really like to feel smart, and they feel smart when they have like something simple, really understood really well in their head that like has an and it does apply to some degree. So I feel like people don't like to be challenged in a way that makes them like feel like okay, maybe I'm not as knowledgeable as I thought I was. Secret to arm gains. Psh, that's too long. We've talked a little bit about this. This one's interesting. What do you think about fascia? Do you ever think about fascia as a role in the muscle strength cardio?
Never.
I think that's probably the better way to approach it, unless like I mean even when I'm training things that are training fascia, it's not like I'm thinking this is going to train my fascia. I'm just like I'm just going to train this component. It'll get affected a little differently.
I've never had any issues that I thought might have been fascia related. Like I know a little bit about it, but it's not even, yeah, it's not even on my radar because I think there's a lot of other way more important stuff. And the minute someone, like, you can say fascia, and I'm not like, oh, fascist, like, oh, you must be a, you must be a hack or something like that. Like, you can say the word, but when someone is like, that's their thing, their thing is fascia, and like every piece of content is related to fascia. I'm like, you're not talking to me. Like, you're talking to someone who doesn't really understand how to evaluate sources, and you're saying something that can maybe convince them to pay you money somehow, but like you're not actually looking to help people, right? You're trying to create problems so that you can give solutions and charge for it. That's what I see it 99% of the time when someone brings up fascia repeatedly. Again, if someone mentions it once, it might actually be something, right? But if that's their thing, oh man, I just it's such a red flag. It really is.
It's such a weird thing to hang your hat on. Like, this is what I'm going to dedicate my hustle to, is just talking about this fascia.
I'm a lot
Do
more
you
interested in muscles than fascia, right? Like muscles, cool. Fascia,
Well,
yeah, no.
it's just like I'm interested in fascia, but like, what are you gonna do? It's like I do think that how we lift like has an impact on the way that we like thicken our fascia and the way we store it and the way we have separation. You know, I think that's why powerlifters look certain ways. So, but again, like I'm not thinking about it. I'm just keeping tension where I want it and things like that. But yeah, I've never gotten super deep into the like the scraping and stuff. There is some bodybuilders that get really into like stuff to loosen their fascia for appearances and stuff, but I don't know. That's like a rabbit hole I haven't gone down.
I, I'm I think this is maybe potentially one of the areas where if someone is like an enhanced open IFBB pro, maybe some weird shit happens where they're just getting so big that it could be the limiting factor. Like I've heard, I mean, I must have read this like 8 or 9 years ago, where it's like you're getting too big and your fascia needs to also stretch so that your muscles can grow big enough. Maybe I'm not educated enough on that topic to know if that could be a thing. Maybe, but I think for the average person, or even like the elite natural, it's just like I don't think it's really going to be the thing most of the time.
I don't think it's a thing for anybody. Yeah. Do you do any inhibition drills or act like breathing stuff at all? I guess they're asking if you do any of the shit that I talk about.
Not too much. I'm more aware of my breathing than I used to be, I would say. Um, because I've seen some of your stuff where it's like, okay, yeah, maybe this area is more important, especially for me because I'm like twisted, and so some days are better than others. Like there aren't any perfect days, but trying to figure out, okay, why do I feel better on some days and not as good on other days? And I think, yeah, breathing sometimes just where is the tension and where is your posture, and like is one side sort of locked up, and I'd like to avoid injury if possible, and I'd like to avoid like long term. I've noticed mobility. Guys in their 20s usually don't give a flying fuck about mobility. Like no one, and then like power lifters who are 40 or 50, all of them are like, yeah, mobility. I do it. It sucks, but I have to do it. So I think being proactive with that is probably a good idea. And I also think that maybe lifting isn't enough. Maybe lifting can't do it all. Like it's cool to, oh, I use full range of motion when lifting. Like I'm good for everything. That's my cardio. That's my mobility. That's everything. It's lifting with a full range of motion. It's just, I think that's a little bit silly. Lifting is awesome, but yeah, sometimes you need specific work to get the stimuli that you want. Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's always going to be somewhat compressive when you're lifting. So at some point, most people need something that's going to be a little more expansive. And you can do certain kind of lifts, but you're still going to be dealing with compression to a certain amount, um, especially when you're going heavy. What are your thoughts on body part splits for natties?
Um, I don't write them in often, and I like to have roughly 2 times per week frequency as like a kind of default starting position. I've seen some natural lifters on them, even guys who got like really big. Um, I think those guys probably would have been fine on 2 or 3 times a week frequency as well, usually. Um, I think those guys are usually pretty gifted. The guys were, they put on a huge amount of muscle with lower frequency and like just bombing a muscle group once a week. Um, I would say I'm not a fan for myself and I rarely use it, but it's worked on enough people that I've seen where I can't totally dismiss it. Like I've seen enough people, even naturals. I know there's the narrative of like, it's only for people on gear. No, I've seen some naturals on it. Um, and they swear by it. So
I think
I
Atlas talks
think
about it, right? Is it Atlas? Somebody I follow talks about it sometimes, like bro
um,
splits.
I think maybe he talked about how to tweak them or something. Um, I think they're good enough that with a little bit of tweaking, they can be pretty good. Right? They're not as bad as some people say they are. Let's put it that way.
I think I definitely I personally I never did a like a one time a week split while I was natty. So I can't I mean I had a really good natty physique, but I always did higher frequency then too. I mean that's just what I was told to do, so I never experimented, but it makes, sense. I mean even as a nat even not as natty, as you get more advanced, maybe it's not even if maybe it's not like once a week or maybe it's not twice a week for all your body parts. Maybe some of them start getting in like twice every 10 days and stuff as you get a little bit more skilled at actually like creating like damage.
Yeah,
We
I
talked.
can't. Yeah, I can't do lower body as often as I used to, because I'm pushing harder and I'm actually like stressing the muscles more. Like I've noticed people who do like upper lower upper lower upper lower lower 3 times per week. I think eventually you kind of graduate from that because you just can't. Like, you're lifting heavy enough weights, or you're just pushing hard enough where I can't imagine hitting lower body hard on Monday and then coming back Wednesday and be like, all right, round two, and then Friday. It's just yeah, it's just I need 3 days minimum, and like 4 and 5 are also good, or maybe like one, maybe Monday and then like a top up session on Thursday,
Yeah.
and then my month, so like 1.5, like a big one, and then the run plus a little bit of like core and like maybe some leg extensions or some shit, or just something a little bit easier to recover from. But yeah, I can't hit RDLs hard on Monday and then come back 48 hours later. It's just not happening. Yeah. Hamstring curls, yeah, totally fine. But like too hard hitting, stretchy, big movements. Um, I mean, right now I'm doing trap bar deadlifts, one set every probably 10 days. And like I need the 10 days to recover. Maybe 8 would be okay, but it's at least a week for sure. Um, and the sets are just a lot harder. Like the mental effort, and I'm not even that strong. Like my last set was 200 kilos for 10,
That's a lot.
and it's
Especially as a
it's
natty. Who are you
yeah,
comparing yourself
it's
to?
the best, but like but I need a week. And actually, before that, it was 180 kilos for 20.
I'm not doing that. I probably could, but I wouldn't fucking want to.
Yeah, that was like, so it's like pretty high reps and pretty hard. And so, yeah, I just need a little bit more time, but I'm still hitting the muscles between there, right? So it's like, it's low frequency for that lift, but I'm still hitting like the hamstrings between there with back extensions and the glutes with other stuff and the erectors with like maybe the rack pulls or something else. Um, and so I think this is where people confuse frequency on a muscle or frequency on a movement, because those can and probably should be two different things.
Yeah, I think too. I think now it's like pretty well known. I mean, again, I don't pay attention to studies, but I think people know that muscle damage isn't necessarily like one of the main drivers for growth, right? And so something that I think people can play with too is like if you are getting more frequency in, but now you're getting to that point where maybe not recovering good, you could make it less intensive on your CNS system and less like creating actual muscular damage. Like you can choose movements that have less lengthened tension under load. You can choose movements that allow you to like manipulate the eccentric a little bit where you don't have to focus on that so much. You could do like whenever I was doing more frequency quads, trying to bring them up, like on my other day, I had the normal meat and potatoes day, just fucking blasting them hacks and all everything, lunges, and then the other day some leg extensions. You're not getting a crazy length and tension on there. I would do some really heavy sled pushes. That's all concentric. You're not getting anything negative on there. So you can play with the amount of damage your body's taking, and like you don't have to like beat it up to still get benefits for the increase in frequency too.
For sure. And this is where when people throw out more contraction focused movements, like, oh, it doesn't have a big stretch. Well, it's like, yeah, that's why I'm doing it. And they're like, well,
Exactly.
the study said, oh, it's not as good. Yeah, well, the study wasn't having this program designed, so suck it. So yeah, this is
Exactly.
what people you'll see people online where they just I almost question if they've ever trained, right? Because they like everything is lengthened, everything is stretchy, and they can recover because they're really weak.
Exactly.
So it's like, they have like this really stretchy, a Bayesian curl or something. And I don't mind a decent, a Bayesian curl, but there are some movements that just have expiration dates. Like you just look at them and you're like, okay, well, you can do that, one arm pull or whatever it is because you are weak. But like, there's going to come a time when you're not weak and you won't be able to do that because it's going to pull you out of the seat or it's going to twist you around or whatever it is, right? So the reason they can do it is because they're weak, but then it's also like a badge of honor that they're doing it. You know what I mean? So it's like all the strong people are like, yeah, well, you're saying I should do that, but I tried it and I couldn't do it because I was using too much weight and I couldn't set it up. And then the weak person's like, but it's optimal. It's like, yeah. So it's almost like people are talking past each other. And this is where I think some of these big basic movements, the reason that they're basic is because they're time tested and they allowed for that progression over time where it's not as flashy, but like it just works.
Which creators or coaches' advice changed your physique and impacted you the most?
Probably yours.
Oh, really? Oh man, oh, I appreciate it. But I mean, I'm sure coming up, you had some people that you listened to that had a big influence on you.
I would say I got lucky where the first person that I recall was Mike Matthews, where he's
Oh
not
yeah.
as he doesn't put out as much stuff recently. Um, he has a book like Bigger, Leaner, Stronger, and just like very reasonable advice overall. Like I didn't get caught up in any fads. I didn't, um, there wasn't. I mean, later maybe like the volume fad where, oh, 45 sets a week, that kind of stuff. And like, yeah, that definitely slowed me down at times. Um, but yeah, it was just very reasonable advice, exercise selection, um, science based, but also based on experience. And like, he was actually really jacked. Um, and so, yeah, I got very lucky in terms of I would listen to the Muscle for Life podcast. Like I would run to the gym, lift, and then like run back and listen to the podcast for several hours. And like, so yeah, I got lucky in that regard. And
Is he still
I
putting
do
out stuff?
think not as much. I think he has a supplement company, so I think that takes most of his attention. Um, and I mean that makes sense. They're doing very well from what I've seen. And so I think that the podcast was sort of like more of just a passion project. And it might still be going, but I think it was more. I think at a certain point it was less about like the monetization and getting tons of views. And I think he didn't want to play like the monetization game of like titling stuff a certain way and so on. And so um, I think if he's still putting out content, it's more of just like a passion thing, but his company is doing very well for sure.
Did anyone like impact the mental side, like the way you think at all?
Maybe Bugenhagen.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard not to if you just watch like one or two of his things. Like, man, I am a pussy.
Yeah. Oh, like there are levels to this. Like, maybe I haven't been training as hard as I thought I was. And then all the guys in the natural community, like seeing them do their sets and the Team 3D MJ guys as well. like seeing them put themselves out there and seeing their training and stuff. And, I like watching people train and then hearing why they do certain things, and I'm always a little bit maybe distrustful or skeptical of people who talk a lot about training, but then you never see them train. Like I don't know. To me, that's just like if you're passionate about it, I should at least
Who's that?
be able to see some of your
Is that
sets,
Beardsley?
right?
I'm trying to think of someone that could apply to. I don't know.
Well, yeah, I mean, that would be a decent example, I would say. It would be interesting to see. Someone said he was strong, but like I don't know. Like
The
maybe he's not.
myth.
Could be just like some nameless supporter who's like, nah, he's actually like triple body weight deadlift. Like, trust me, bro. Like if he is, that's awesome, right? Like more, but like I don't know. It just seems a little weird to be super passionate about hypertrophy and lifting, but then like never put that out there. Yeah, I mean, yeah. So I mean, that would be one example of that. I mean, it does happen elsewhere. Um, but yeah, I mean, I would say anyone who pushes their sets hard and also is looking to learn over time, because I definitely have seen some content creators where I scroll through their page and their content today is the same as it was 5 years ago. And I'm like, I was gonna follow you, but like you haven't learned anything in the past 5 years. So like, yeah, I binged your page. I got everything I wanted out of it. See ya. Like you're not gonna be teaching me. Or I see like reposts every month or something of like old content that did well, and they're just going through the motions and it's really stale. Yeah, I mean the passion isn't there anymore. So yeah, with that kind of stuff, I tend to dip out of following the person. But if they're still looking to learn and they're still growing, at least mentally and hopefully physically as well, yeah, I'm in.
We can speed run these last couple. These ones were from the IG. If you could pick one chest exercise for the rest of your life, which would it be?
Probably just one. I do like the sort of low to high cable fly. I think you did a video on it. Um, and I've been doing it a while, but like I do like that one. But I also can't really choose a cable exercise as like the one.
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
I just call it out exercises that have an expiration date, and I don't know if that would or not, but I could see myself getting heavy enough where it's like tough to stabilize. I would say probably like an incline, maybe flat, maybe a slight incline, like a power fly, where it's not super deep, but and it's not super straight arms where it's like too much biceps or something, but it's also not a normal press where my triceps might take over, but it's just that sweet spot where maybe 90 degrees or so on the bottom, and then you can just get a decent stretch, but nothing ridiculous, and then you can load that up. Like I think I've used 100-pound dumbbells on those, and I could see myself going heavier than that as well. So long-term progression, decent range of motion, and feels good. You can sort of, because some machines kind of suck where it's like they lock you into some weird position, or like they put too much tension at the end and it just feels like some kind of weird tricep extension. So yeah, I would say dumbbell incline, power fly or barrel press. I think Bold Omni Man called them a barrel press. They're very similar movement or motion. That would probably be my go-to, yeah, because I'm a little bit triceps dominant, and so like a barbell, like a close grip bench press, I still do those sometimes, but like for long term, it would probably just be a little bit too much triceps for me.
Yeah, for your setup, I think that would be your best move for sure. What's your favorite overhead press?
So I've done I've done a few. I've done I've done Arnold presses where you have the dumbbells and you bring them down in front and then you sort of twist around. I like those and I like them without a back support, um, just because it forces you to actually go overhead. Whereas when you have a back support, you end up in like this position where you're not really getting, because this is a good amount of side delt. When people are like pressing is only front delt, yeah, if you're doing like a lean back kind of thing, either because you're standing and you're leaning back, or because you're seated and you're like leaning against the bench. Um, so I would say either those. I've also been doing, Z presses.
Hmm.
Yeah, so I've been doing those. Again,
With
it forces
dumbbells?
you to stay up with a barbell and a rack.
Okay.
So I haven't tried dumbbells. Maybe I'll try those at some point.
I mean, it's just a little hard to
Mm,
start,
yeah,
but yeah.
yeah, you just have to sort of, yeah, that would be, maybe we could have them on the rack and then maybe, yeah, we'll see. I'll play around with it. But I like those because essentially you're seated on the ground with your legs out in front of you. And so you actually do get a decent hip flexor contraction at times. Um, and you're seated there, so your legs are out in front, your torso is upright, and you're just trying to press overhead, and you can't lean back. You just if you try to lean back, you fall over, right? So it gives you that instant proprioception. You can you can keep the chest up, and so it actually gets a decent amount of chest. And so I like it because it keeps you in a good position, but you can't lean back. So you can get your chest up, but you still have to get overhead. Because if you keep your chest up and then you keep it up, well, then you fall over. So you kind of start the movement with a little bit of chest up, but then as you press, you have to come forward and you have to keep the barbell right over you because otherwise, yeah, you fall over. So um, I like movements where they do force you to actually get into that full overhead position. And if you look at a lot of people press, they're not getting that, right? That's one of the reasons why a lot of people don't like behind the neck pressing because you can't do that because the bar is behind you, and so it forces you to actually use the delt. So yeah, I like behind the neck presses with a little bit of a wider grip, like a Klokov style. I like the Arnold presses without back support, and then the Z presses as well. I've done those on and off over the years. I would say if I could choose one, it would probably be the Arnolds, just because they do feel really nice and friendly on the joints, and I don't feel my triceps as much on those because they are dumbbells. So yeah, it would probably be one of those. Although I've also done standing overhead presses. The last training block had those, and I hit 135 for 12, which I mean it's not amazing, but it's not too bad either. Full range of motion,
Kilos?
dead stop. No, 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 pounds, pounds.
Okay. I'm like, what do you mean? That's crazy, bro.
Higher than my bench. uh,
Uh,
no, no, not that high. So yeah, like 60 kilos for 12, which is okay, but nothing amazing.
I mean, usually the people that get really strong at those get all fucked up the way they're doing them anyway. It's not like something you want to necessarily have those crazy numbers like Mike used to push. That's part of the reason why he looks all fucked up.
That's the thing. Like usually when I see someone who doesn't have the muscular development, but they have the numbers, they're doing something to get the numbers, and it's usually not something actually useful. And often they don't understand why they don't have the physique they want.
Yeah.
And when because I understand what they're doing, because it's very easy to understand the mentality of like, oh, me lift more weight, me get bigger. It's like, yeah, but you're not getting bigger sometimes, and you have to try to assess. But I've even got people say, oh, I must be on steroids. GVS must be on steroids because he's not lifting as much weight. But I can tell that they don't understand what's going on. They don't understand that I'm trying to make the movement more difficult in a lot of cases so that I don't have to lift as much weight, right? Because I'm 36. I'm also, I'm trying to think in decades here, right? Like, okay, 46, 56, 66. Do I really want to be like the guy who could lift a ton of weight before? No, I don't care about that, right? Like, I want to be the guy who can still lift enough and has like the physique and the functionality and everything. I want it all,
Yeah.
basically. I don't want it all now. I want it all, at every point in the future as well.
Yeah, I don't think people think about that enough. Okay, last one, then I'll let you go, brother. What? Well, this is a lot. We don't have to do that many. What are they're asking? What are the top five most important muscles to look big? So, I mean, that's like all the muscles. So, just what are your top muscles for you for to like? And I think you have a book on this, don't you? Isn't this one of your things you talk about like a lot? Is
Uh,
like the
I
muscles that'll
have
make you look more jacked.
I have a video on it, and my books are sort of encompassed around that. I have a program on that. That
Okay.
might be what I
Yeah.
have a program on that mass impact. And I would say mostly muscles around the shoulders. So shoulders themselves, in terms of bang for your buck, yeah, if you have big shoulders, that's awesome. Um, if if you have everything else but you're lagging in shoulders, some looks off. Like it looks really bad, and they can be a tough muscle group to develop. Again, because you can use so much other stuff around them. Like if you're doing laterals, I mean, I use like 20 pounds, 25 pounds on my laterals now. I used to use double, triple. I used to use 30 kilos, 35 kilos on laterals. And yeah, I was smaller and I was actually weaker, but I was using a whole bunch of other stuff. Like you could power clean. Think how much Olympic weightlifters power clean. They power clean ridiculously 150 kilos. So yeah, 30-kilo lateral raises with some cheat, not even a full cheat, and like a partial range of motion and a bent elbow and stuff. Like yeah, it's doable, but the delts are like MIA. They're just they have no idea what's going on, right? It's traps, it's hips, um, and so yeah, I would say delts are one of those movements that you just have to be patient on. At this point, I'll just pick a weight, and then that's going to be my weight for like 3 months. Like I'm just
Yeah.
I'm going to clean it up. I'm going to make it feel better. Maybe I'll go beyond failure, but I just I want to keep it in the delts, right? Like I don't want to be shrugging up. I don't want to be swinging. I don't want to be externally rotating. Like there's so many areas where the tension could go, and for most people it does because the delt themselves is it's not that well leveraged to move tons of weight. So yeah, every time I see someone with a crazy lateral raise in terms of the numbers, I'm like, okay, well, if I was coaching you, you'd probably be lifting half that, maybe. Anyway, so delts, delts would be the first one. Traps would probably be the second. Um, Third would probably be Terry's, or maybe the lats. Maybe Terry's, just because it's out there and it's like that sort of gem on the outside of the back. And it looks so freaking cool when you're lean,
It
especially.
does.
Like you just have this like baseball, not even on your delt, just like hanging out. And it looks so good in so many poses, right? Like you're doing a side triceps or a side chest, like you just see it sort of out there, sticking out. So yeah, that would be one. So delts, traps in general, like upper, middle, lower traps, all of them together. Like if you have developed lower traps and you're lean enough, in a front double biceps or a back double biceps or something, like and just having all that together looks awesome. Um, and then I would say triceps as well. Maybe a little bit of bias
Obviously.
there, but
No, that's what fills out the
there's,
shirts.
yeah, I mean, there's so many poses that it looks really good in. And then if you're just standing there, you're not even trying, like it just hangs really nicely. So yeah,
We
tricep.
do the opposite of the girls, right? The girls try to make their arms look skinny. Like we try to like smush it and make it look fat.
Yeah, well, the women's list of like top muscle groups is completely different to men's as well.
It's just
um,
ass, and maybe a tiny bit of shoulder, tricep or something. Yeah, that's all they care about.
ass,
Yeah,
No, um, and then the fifth, let's see, I would say probably quads. They're so big and just like you have to have something in the lower body. You can say glutes. I know Alex Leonidas in his naturally enhanced program, he went for glutes over quads. Personally, I'd probably go for quads over
yeah.
glutes.
Most
That's just
men.
like that's just my like personal preference. Um, like in like an abs and thigh or like just standing there. Um, I do like hamstrings, but like you can't choose hamstrings over quads for looking
Yeah.
jacked. Like, come on.
Especially as a dude. I mean, I would say you're definitely right about shoulders. Those are huge, but I would say I'll say something different than you did. I'll give you like rear delts, especially if you're like in a tank, especially if you're like a natty or something. If you just have a little bit of rear, I mean, you obviously need some lateral too, but that's the side's a little easier to get for most people. If you can cap it with a little bit of rear, it can just make it look so much more 3D than it really is. And then fucking forearms. I mean, when you see some meaty forearms on somebody, that's something you see all the time. Like that is like old school, like, oh, that guy's fucking, he can lift some weight. So I think, and then calves, people people look at calves a lot too, I guess. But like for me, when I think of like strength and like someone looking jacked, like if you have meaty forearms, you could have like subpar everything else, but you wouldn't even be able to tell. You wouldn't assume that. You'd be like, dude, they're fucking yoked.
I guess because living in China, I see guys with huge calves on
Right?
a pretty regular basis. And like they're just like they're just overweight. But like it's not a fat calf. Like you've seen some calves maybe in the States that are just like kind of fat.
Just
They're not
round,
fat.
no shape.
They're
But I
just
know what
like
you're talking
yeah,
about. Yeah.
it's just like vascular and defined, but nothing else is. Like they don't lift weights. Like, but I'm like interested. Okay, like how did this happen? And so I'm trying to like stalk them a little bit. I'm trying to look at like what's going on, right? Like some guys do this about pretty women or whatever, but no, like if I see some guy with some calves, I'm trying to like, okay, was he walking a certain way? Is like is he pronating? Or like is he pushing off? Like is he? And I think a lot of the times they just walk with their calves. Like
Yeah.
they don't walk with their hips. They're not like striding with their hips. They're like pushing and flexing their calves every stride. It's like and you have to think like, did they just start walking this way because they had genetically gifted calves? And then they became even bigger and they started using them even more because they got even bigger and then they got even. So maybe it's one of those things, right? Um, and maybe it wasn't even genetics. Maybe they grew up on a place where it was really hilly and they got these bigger calves and then they started using them more. They got this upward spiral of calf domination. Yeah, but they're definitely important. Did you see that picture of Chris Hemsworth where people were clowning on him for
Yeah,
having chicken legs?
yeah, yeah.
You couldn't even see his thighs. It was just that
Yeah.
he had shit calves. I mean, he's wearing shorts, so it's like people give him a hard time for like his lower body development. But it was like if he had decent calves, he could have avoided that whole
Entirely.
situation. Yeah.
Yeah. That's funny.
So
Um,
yeah,
What all that? Oh, one thing you were talking about too is about the progressive overload, like with the flies and stuff. Something I've been having a lot of the people that come to me do because I get a lot of people that are fucked up from taking that too far. Is like I have them like do the exact fucking opposite. When you can't progress something anymore in weight, like make yourself fail at lower reps. See if you can instead of trying to push that weight because you failed at 12 reps, use the same fucking weight and see if you can hit true failure at 11. Like it's such a mind fuck for some people, but it's a skill set they need to develop. And I think like once they kind of like get out of that and they connect with their body, like, oh shit, like, okay, I could like drop this weight by like a lot actually.
yeah. And this is where progressive overload is like really good advice for some people, but then when you take it too far, I mean, you might think that, oh, progressive overload, that's the one true principle that everything else has to revolve around. Like I've heard people say that, oh, the only thing that matters ultimately is progressive overload. And I'm sitting there thinking, oh man, like I've onboarded so many clients where I just slashed weight off the bar. Like, okay, well, this is not a weight that you should ever be using. You should never ever have been using it. You might use it again in the future, right? Like it's just goodbye for now, and
It's
maybe in a few
true
months.
progressive overload now. You know, like it's not
Exactly.
that it doesn't count,
Now,
but it's not the weight. Yeah.
yeah, and I've bent over road 3.5 plates 6 years ago when my deadlift was 4 plates. But like I'll probably never row 3.5 plates again, and like I have to be comfortable with that. But my back's way, way bigger. So like what actually matters.
Well, fuck, man. I appreciate it, dude. I kept you for a while. I know it was late there, early here. I'm really looking forward to talking to you in a couple weeks, man. That'll be fun. Thank you for jumping on. We've got you, Basement. How do I say my French guy's name? Hersevek? Hersevek?
Herzog, oh, he just became a pro. He just
Yeah,
he
I know. He
just
looked
got
he looked great. I told him he could have probably won like a non-tested like one over here. He could have turned pro in classic. Like he's got a crazy look.
yeah, man, he looked amazing.
And then we got him, Basement, and our boy Faz. Are you like tight with everybody? Have you talked to them all before? I mean, I know you know Faz
Yeah,
well, but yeah, cool.
yeah.
So that'll be sweet, man. Looking forward to that. So thanks a lot, brother. Anything you want to put out there before I let you go? You said you got an app, right? Is that what did you just release an app?
Yeah, the GVS hypertrophy app, we're building it out. It's, we're going to be adding videos and I don't know if I'm supposed to talk about this, but nutrition, like there's a whole bunch of stuff coming. And so yeah, I'm really excited about it. A lot of people are already making gains on it. So yeah,
Nice. Sweet. Appreciate it, brother. It's always good to talk to you. I'll see you in a few weeks, man.
likewise.
All right. Peace.